A moment, please.
Dear one. Oh, my God, my apologies. You're carrying so many bags. I couldn't help myself. Please come in. Oh, is that bread I smell? That's so kind of you. Here, let me clear the table so you can set those down. My gods, you've brought me a feast. Oh, and you scored little laurels into the bread. Pretty. And it's still warm. Did you just make this? Cheese, smoked salmon. God, that looks good. And what's this? Avocado. Intriguing. Olive oil for dipping. And hummus. Oh, I've missed hummus. I can smell the garlic from inside the packet. Lingonberry jam. I don't think I've ever heard of lingonberries before. My mother usually made her jams from cherries. It's the custom where I'm from to serve samples of it from dessert spoons to our guests, as a gesture of hospitality. But, dear one, you're visiting me. I should be serving you. But if you wish to give me a taste, I'll get you a spoon. My goodness, that's delicious. You're going to have to stop me from devouring the whole jar. There's another bag. You are really spoiling me. Flour, yeast, milk, sugar, cinnamon, salt, and butter. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, perhaps next time you visit I can make you something. You made pastries too. They look wonderful. Oh, but please tell me there are no more presents. I'm quite overcome. Forgive me, it's just when I found you at the door, I wasn't expecting anything other than the pleasure of your company. Well, I thank you, I do. But you are all the joy I need. Please, sit. I'll get the wine. Or I have some tea brewing if you prefer. I'm all out of rosehip, I'm afraid. I have a new black tea my sister brought me for Midsummer. She assured me that drinking it in the evenings shouldn't leave me wakeful, unlike some of her other blends. Oh, this one has pomegranate seeds, ginger, and cinnamon. Tart and spicy, much like the good lady herself. The fruit is from her orchards. You remembered. Yes, the tea having 3 ingredients is indeed meaningful. I'm so glad you visited. And your timing is perfect. I was just wondering what to eat. I'm not sure where to begin with all of this. What do you plan on tasting first? I know you brought it for me to bake with. but I can't resist sampling the butter on this delightful bread. It's been so long since I had either. Oh, gods, that's perfect. Simple and comforting. But how have you been? I think the frost yet lingered on the ground when I saw you last. I'm sorry to hear that turmoil still runs rampant in the world outside. I find it's often the way in times like these. You rarely end up enduring just one calamity. More difficulties follow on its heels. I know that frustration intimately. But you mustn't put all the world's troubles on your shoulders, Good. Keeping busy is important. The gods know I suffer most when my hands are idle. I'm glad you've been faring well in spite of it all. It's astounding that your healers may have perfected their medicine by this autumn's end. They must be working day and night. I've been well. Busy. Summer always passes in such a blur here. I must apologize in part for the unusual amount of rain in June. The sylphs and the nixies had a bit of a row. At the start of May, I found a merman in one of my rivers. He's visited me before. He helped me make that wind chime in the downstairs bathroom, in fact. But this time, he was quite sick. Something poisoned him, left his gills puffy and inflamed. He said he swam through a questionable junction somewhere outside of the borders of my forest, where the water tasted foul. I'm not much of a healer, but I know enough to gather and mix the right components for a cleansing potion, at least. He didn't enjoy having to flush his gills out daily, but within a week he felt well enough to start criticizing the meals I brought him. A cheeky thing. While he regained his strength, the forest blossomed and woke slowly around him, and at some point he attracted the attention of several nixies and a few sylphs. When he left at the end of the month, they did not take it well, and the skies reflected their indignation. Eventually, I had to step in and rebuke them. I didn't relish doing it, but they were getting out of hand. At least the bad weather cleared, and all was well in the end. Is that how you enjoy that smoked salmon with this cheese and avocado? Then I'll try it that way as well. I don't believe I've had fish prepared quite like this before. The flesh is silky. That's rather good. Strange eating a savoury fruit that's not an olive, and the salmon is very strongly flavoured. It's no wonder you only added a small amount to yours. But they blend well together, as you said. Thank you for this. I know I keep thanking you, but it's rare when I get to try new dishes. Humour me, dear one. What inspired you to arrange all of this for me? I'm overjoyed, but this must have been so much work. I missed you too. I'm sorry you couldn't sleep. Was there something keeping you awake? I suppose I've something of an advantage, living the way I do. I receive messages and occasional portents from home, but rarely am I overwhelmed by so many at once. It's no wonder you can't find proper rest. It's all around you, isn't it? What was that phrase you used? Doom scrolling. Sounds ominous. I'm glad you found your way here instead. Oh, you're welcome to stay a while after you've eaten your fill. I won't be seeking my bed for some hours yet. And you needn't worry. I'm all right. Only sometimes after a busy day I'm left feeling restless instead of pleasantly exhausted. I'm sure you know the feeling. I was thinking of having a walk before you arrived, so it's a good thing I lingered. I think I'll have the hummus next. I've missed it the most. Just looking at it is making my mouth water. Oh, heavenly. These past weeks I thought of you often while I worked, especially in the mornings. How was your Midsummer? Did you greet the sun? Oh, mine was a small affair, at least compared to the ones in the cities. My family visited me. We built an enormous bonfire and shared honey cakes and dandelion wine while we watched the sunrise. Later, I ate my weight in scallops and vinegared octopus and whole roasted sea bream. Oh, gods, I missed seafood. That and Mother's mead. Do you remember the dryad bird I showed you? She's almost fully grown now. We had the honor of introducing her to her first solstice. How she danced. She'll likely be gone by next spring, off to start a brand new forest, or perhaps mend an ailing one, as I did. She might even become its heart one day. The title is uniquely suited to dryads. They usually live alone and can see and hear the forest in ways that even I cannot. Oh, almost anyone can become a forest's heart if it accepts them. Though I never saw myself taking this path when I was young, I can't say I'm discontent with what the fates have given me. May I refill your cup? Lately I haven't encountered many mortals wandering about, but there are more now than there were before. I spotted the occasional jogger or someone walking their dog, but there was never any time to chat. Well, there was one whom I did have the opportunity to converse with, but she wasn't what she seemed. Imagine my surprise when I found a young woman out walking at night quite lost and thirsty. She was a young vampire, barely 80. Her name was Olivia. The pandemic sent hardship her way as well, as you can imagine. She was stalking a deer. Since I accidentally startled her prey away, I felt it only appropriate to offer her my wrist instead. Oh, no, there never was any danger. She assured me she only needed a swallow or 3, and I couldn't sense any lies in her words. I knew what to do in the event that she lost control. Oh, nothing drastic. I can simply be very convincing when I want to be. Fortunately, it didn't come to that. Do you think me foolish, taking such a risk? Mayhap I was. But she was parched and desperate, and I just couldn't leave her like that. And God, she was such an enticing mystery. Neither of us knew how my blood would affect her, you see. I'd only ever heard tales of vampires feeding on mortals, never from any of us. I was curious. I wanted to know what it felt like, and I wanted to know if she would enjoy my taste. The bite itself wasn't anything remarkable. Just a pinprick, then a pleasant tingle. I almost asked her if she wanted more. I bled more than that when I took my vows, but Olivia was true to her word and didn't ask for more than she needed. The poor thing seemed to forget herself for a few minutes after she withdrew her fangs. With how heavily she leaned against me, I half feared she might fall asleep in my arms, but in time she found her feet again. Mostly. I was palatable enough, or so she said. I suspect I made her a little bit drunk. My blood also caused her to speak in rhyme for a few hours, which was amusing. She thought my mirth was annoying, which was even more amusing. While I walked her back to my tree, she tried to shock me with wanton verses. Me. You should have seen the look on her face when I joined in. Soon we were both laughing so much we could hardly speak. One would think that's where the story would go, but Olivia had no interest in sharing my bed, only filthy poetry. A fine way to pass an evening, all the same. Oh, I let her sleep the day away while I did my duties. When I returned at dusk, she was gone. But she left me a single gold coin with a poppy blooming in its centre in thanks. I haven't the foggiest idea where or how I'm supposed to spend it, but it's pretty enough. I believe I've just enough room to try one of your pastries. Let's see. Apple sounds nice. Oh God, that's decadent. I never would have thought to add rum to the filling. That was wonderful. I fear I may have partook a little too much. I forgot how comforting and filling bread can be, especially with some good wine. I feel as though I've had a second Midsummer's banquet. Yes, it is possible for a satyr to overindulge, especially if he's too drowsy and full to enjoy other more vigorous activities. Are you sated? Shall I put the leftovers away? My, it's grown late. The hours fly by when I'm talking to you. If you'd like to head back, I could walk you to the forest's entrance, if you don't mind me being a little lethargic. Or, if you prefer, we only need walk a few steps to my bed. Yes. Let's lie down. Oh, it's so good to hold you again. You worry for me? Why ever for? Oh, summer is always this way. I rather like the chaos of it, especially after a long winter indoors. There's no danger of me working myself to death. There's still time enough to rest. And if I can take my respite with you, all the better. All life paths have their hardships. Loneliness is deadly to satyrs. We sicken and die from it as much as from any slow-acting plague. But it's a risk I'm willing to endure because I cannot and will not let my forest die. It's not just my home, dear one, it's me. I'd sooner stop my own heart than leave it. Oh, even if I could, there's simply too much to do. The portals alone. Yes, that's how most of my forest's inhabitants find their way to me. The ones who weren't born here, anyway. The Nixies, the Sylphs, the Kelpie in my lake, the Harpy who sings in the southern caves. It's all purely by chance. I think your path is safe enough. It's not so much an entryway as it is your world laid on top of mine. You may come and go as you please, without risk of flickering elsewhere or turning to dust. But the portals are different. They can't be closed or destroyed, only looked after. Oh, they can look like so many things. Sometimes they're mushroom rings. I'm aware of at least one in the caves. I'm too large to explore them entirely, so there could be others. Sometimes they're in the rivers. I think that's how the merman friend I mentioned earlier visited me. Oh, they used to be much more stable, before the blight hit and the magic went wild. What was meant to be a smooth transition from the Summerlands to my forest turned into an unpredictable horror show. I shudder to think sometimes of the poor pilgrims who got stuck and went mad from the horrors they witnessed in the between. Sometimes all I find is someone's hand, or a scrap of cloth, or strange bones. Oh, it's not all gruesome work. I never know who or what may visit me, but I celebrate when they make it through more often than not. Most of them don't arrive with the intention to cause my forest any harm. They simply want a place to exist. I provide for those that live and bury those that don't. Sometimes I end up planting ghosts. There's another reason I took up this duty, though. A selfish one. In all that I do, I honor the memory of the dryad who planted this forest's first seed, my predecessor. No, she's of no relation to our newest dryad. Our little one seems to have adapted deer ferns as her preferred form, whereas my lady fashioned herself after oak trees. I loved her madly while she lived. One morning I wandered into a sunny glade and found her healing a tree that had been struck by lightning, and I didn't know it at the time, but the roots grew over my hooves. I didn't leave her side for almost a century. Then the blight struck. It ripped her from me and left a gaping vacancy that I had to fill. There was no one else. The only thing worse for satyrs than loneliness is grief, you know. It'll eat you hollow if you let it. Though her spirit's gone, she lives on in every tree and brook she ever touched, and so I tend them. Each day heals me a little more. Oh, dear one. Peace. It doesn't cause me pain to tell you of such things. Rather the opposite. I haven't had an occasion to tell anyone so much in years. I'm not unhappy. I may not roam about and carouse like others of my kind, but I love caring for the creatures and folk that dwell here with me. Just watching them live is enough. And sometimes there are guests from your world. Sometimes there's you. showing you my forest is one of the greatest joys I've known in a long time. Sleep. Feel my arms around you. Hear the forest breathe. I'll keep you close. And in the morning, I'll kiss you everywhere I've missed.